Welcome to Guide to Soul Coming Back to Yourself. I'm your host, Jennifer Walsh. Today's episode is episode 4, Boundaries Without Walls. There was a time in my life where I was focused on keeping everyone else happy. So focused on not rocking the boat that I looked up one day and I couldn't find myself anymore. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I felt. I just knew I was exhausted, hollowed out, and I kept giving more. This time, it would be enough. This time, I'd finally feel secure. This time, I wouldn't feel so invisible. It wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. And the hardest part, I thought I was being a good person. I thought I was being empathetic, loving, supportive. What I was actually doing was abandoning myself slowly, quietly, one small compromise at a time. And if this sounds familiar, this episode is for you. We need to talk about boundaries, but not the way you've heard of it before. Because when most people hear the word boundaries, they picture a wall, a hard no, a door slamming shut. They think boundaries are about keeping people out, and that feels cold or selfish or just not who they are. Especially if you're someone who leads with empathy, who genuinely cares, and who feels everything. The idea of building walls feels like betraying who you are. So here's the reframe I want to offer you today. A boundary isn't a wall you build to keep people out. It's an internal sense of where you end and where someone else begins. And I'm going to say this again. A boundary isn't a wall you build to keep people out. It's an internal sense of where you end and where someone else begins. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about knowing yourself clearly enough, being anchored enough in who you are that you don't lose yourself in the first place. Real boundaries don't come from rules you memorize or scripts you rehearse. They come from self knowledge, from being rooted in yourself. That even in the middle of someone else's storm, you still know where you're standing. In my last episode, we talked about absorption. What happens when you take on other people's energy without realizing it? This is where it gets practical and honestly, a little embarrassing because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most of us walk into rooms, into conversations, into relationships without checking in with ourselves first. We just show up, we arrive. And then we wonder why we feel completely different leaving than we did going in. Why we're suddenly carrying someone else's anxiety, someone else's anger, someone else's bad day. That is now somehow our entire personality for the rest of the afternoon. You ever leave a conversation and find yourself texting a friend like, I think I'm upset, but but I'm not even sure if it's mine? That's not you being crazy. That's you being an open tab and everything just loaded in. You picked up somewhere along the way. No one handed it to you. There was no contract. You just took it home. Here's what I want you to understand. You only have so much light. And I don't mean that in a precious way, although your light is precious. I mean it in a practical way. Your energy is a resource. And when you're absorbing everyone around you, when you have no sense of where you end or where they end and you begin, your light gets dimmer. Sometimes it gets wiped out completely. That's not empathy. That's energetic leakage or leaking. And there's a difference. So, what do we do about it? What I'm about to introduce to you is a concept I call energetic hygiene. And before you roll your eyes and close the app, stay with me here because it's not too woo. This is as practical as brushing your teeth. Think about it. You wouldn't walk around for a week without showering, without brushing your teeth. Ew, can you imagine? Nobody would come near you. You maintain your physical body because you understand it needs care, it needs maintenance, it needs attention. Your energy is the same, except nobody taught us that part. Nobody sat us down in school and said, okay, kids, today we're going to cover energetic hygiene, right along with algebra. And honestly, that feels like a massive oversight. We operate in a vibrational world. Everything, every interaction, every conversation, every room you walk into is an exchange of frequency and energy. Your feelings literally create different energies. Love feels different than anger. Calm feels different than chaos. You felt that. You know it's true. There's actually research on this. A physician named Masaru Emoto studied the effects of words and intentions on water, then froze it and photographed the crystals. The water exposed to love and gratitude formed these stunning symmetrical structures. The water exposed to anger and hostility was distorted, fragmented, ugly. Now, science has debated his methodology, but that's hard to argue with. It's what you already know in your body. You've been in a room where the energy's off, and you felt it before anyone said a word, before anyone even took their coat off. You just knew. That's not woo. That's you being a sensory human being. So, energetic hygiene means taking responsibility for your own energy and being aware of how you're affecting the people around you before you walk into any interaction, the hard conversation, a family dinner, a work meeting. Check in with yourself. Where are you right now? What are you carrying? Are you actually in a headspace to show up? Because if you're not, the kindest thing you can do is limit the interaction until you are. We've all been around that person. You know the one. They walk in and the whole room shifts, and not in a good way. The energy drops, and suddenly everyone's uncomfortable and no one knows why. That's what happens when someone has zero energetic hygiene. They're littering, emotionally dumping, throwing their chaos all over the room, and they don't even know they're doing it. You don't want to be that person. And here's the other side of it: you don't have to keep absorbing the people who are. You're not an emotional landfill. You get to say no to that. So here's what I want to leave with you. When you have real boundaries, not walls, not rules, not scripts, but genuine internal sense of who you are and where you stand, something shifts. You can be fully present with someone without getting swept away by them. You can care deeply without carrying their weight. You can hold a space for someone else's pain without making it your own. You can stay in a room and stay in yourself at the same time. That's sovereignty. And it doesn't feel cold and it doesn't feel like a wall. It feels like coming home to yourself and realizing you never have to leave to make someone else comfortable. So you stop running after things outside of you to feel okay because you already know where you are. And honestly, that's when life gets a lot quieter and a lot lighter and a whole lot more yours. If this episode hit something in you, sit with it. Don't rush past it. Ask yourself, whose energy have I been carrying that isn't mine? Where have I been quietly abandoning myself? One small compromise at a time. Because sovereignty isn't something you find out there, it's not a boundary script, it's not a self help checklist, it's a homecoming. It's the moment you stop outsourcing your sense of self to other people's moods, needs, reaction, and approval. And when you find it, and I mean really find it, you'll know. Because you'll stop feeling so tired, you'll stop feeling so lost, and you'll start feeling like you again. That's the work, and you're already doing it just by being here. Next week, we're going somewhere I think is going to crack something open for a lot of you. We're talking about why your body knew before your mind did, and how your nervous system was processing everything, every red flag, every off feeling, every moment something didn't sit right, long before your thoughts caught up. I'll meet you here next time. Love and light.